Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Figma GENJI figure from Blizzard's Overwatch, which is a game that I really do enjoy. It's got a lot of really cool character designs, and so you would think it'd be really nice to have a line of figures from that game. Blizzard's great at character design, so what the heck, let's get some figures, right? Well, Figma kind of did a good job with Tracer. It was a solid figure, but definitely didn't quite have the right aesthetic. And GENJI doesn't have the right aesthetic and is actually riddled with problems. We're going to go through all of it so you guys can see everything you need to know about buying this figure, but I'm going to tell you right off the bat, it's probably going to be a don't buy it. Okay, let's get him off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just about 15.5 centimeters, which makes him just about 6 1/8 inches. So he's definitely not short. But that is kind of tall, actually, for GENJI. Obviously, I can't check the height measurements for every character, but I think he's maybe a bit oversized, and I think that really comes in at the legs. At least that's what it looks like. His upper body seems to be pretty well proportioned, but you could make the argument that his arms are too short or his legs are too big. It's not terrible. It's not a huge deal. Once you pose him, you probably won't notice it, but his proportions do seem a bit off in terms of accuracy. If it wasn't for that, it probably wouldn't be too noticeable at all. The overall aesthetic, though, in terms of paint and sculpt, pretty good, not bad. We have a lot of different molded parts, and they're put together nicely to look good. And then where we do have paint, though, it is minimal. It does look nice. You can see a little bit of the neon green throughout here, a little bit on the shoulders, the silver throughout, a couple little details like the little triangle on the wrist there. You know, it definitely looks good. It's got a nice level of finish on it. No complaints in that regard. The head looks pretty nice. They did a decent job with the visor. I'll take it. It's all right. So yeah, it looks pretty good. But the problem really comes in with the articulation, and we're going to get to that. But first, let's talk about accessories. This guy does have a relatively small amount of accessories, and I think that's kind of a problem for Figma. Lately, the prices have just been going through the roof, and we're not getting better quality, and we're certainly not getting more accessories, so it's a little strange. We do have his katana on his back, which is connected with a ball hinge. I'll talk about that more as we go into the articulation. But we can remove the handle for the katana, and then of course we have the full-on katana accessory. I can't remember what it's called. I never played GENJI. It does seem a bit undersized, but it is done really well. So what we have here is really cool. I don't know if it's completely like way too small. It does seem a little bit small though for him. And then of course on his back we do also have his smaller sword, which is also connected on a ball hinge. And you can remove the handle for that, and we do have the full version of that as well as an accessory. We have a bunch of different interchangeable hands. We have the 2 fist hands that come on him in the package. We have 2 regular gripping hands, another 2 gripping hands, 2 wide open hands, and his 2 fingers out in the air hand, so that's plenty. Then we get another hand which has his shuriken hanging on his fingers, which looks pretty cool. That's really nicely done. And then we have another hand that has the full-on thrown shuriken effect, which is really nice. I love that they did the clear for the swooshy part, and then it went to the neon green just like it does in the game with the nice metallic silver paint. Very, very nicely done. Love that accessory. But that's it. No more accessories. Very minimal. At least a sword stroke or something would have been cool. That's it. That's it for the accessories. We do get the Figma display stand, but whoop-de-doo, we have like a million of those if you've ever purchased a Figma before. So really minimal accessories. But so far you're probably thinking, I don't get it. It seems like a solid figure. And I thought the same thing when I took it out of the package. But then it only gets worse. So let's go ahead and just talk about some of the issues. The first one, the headband right here, or the bandana thing, it doesn't hold up its own weight most of the time. So that's a problem. You can get it in some spots where it'll kind of stick, but overall, it's just floppy. So a floppy headband is not good. It's usable, but that's about it. The swords being connected on ball hinges, I don't know. It's they stick out a lot. They stick out a whole lot from his body, so it looks pretty goofy. Like this. It looks like a propeller connected to his ass. Why? Why'd they do that? And if they're going to do that, at least recess it some. Also, strange. The ball hinges are half clear plastic, half white. It's just weird. I don't know why they did that. It's very strange. But they stick out so much. I don't care for that design at all. Not even a little bit. Alright, so now we can move on to the actual articulation, which is where we're going to get the rest of our issues. It's kind of odd that this guy's made the way he is, because he's almost built like a Revoltech figure, and it's not a good thing. So for the head, you can see there's kind of a split for that gray part where the main part of the head separates from this part. This is a separate piece, and that allows him to look up a little bit, and it tucks in. But that is the extent of the range of this guy's neck. That's it. You can look up and down that much. It's completely recessed in the head, so you have no more use of the hinge that's in there. And as far as rotating the head goes, that's it. It's super minimal, and it swivels at an angle, so it's almost worthless. The neck is on a really angled ball hinge with a ball peg in there, almost exactly like the way Revoltech does it, except Revoltech's figures are not to my liking at all, but they do execute them, at least in terms of their articulation, pretty well for the most part. This is like a cheap knockoff of a Revoltech neck. It doesn't have any range. It's just goofy. It has almost no range at all. It's a terrible design, and there's no reason for it. You can lean it side to side like, what, maybe 10 degrees? It's so minimal, and this guy's a freaking robot ninja. Why would you want, like, it's so minimally articulated. And here's the other thing that's like Revoltech. We have this double ball hinge, kind of, for the shoulder. It's not quite the same thing. They have a ball hinge here, and then a regular ball socket right there. And it's not a great design. You don't need it. A butterfly joint can generally create just about as much range, and it doesn't look anywhere near as bad. This one's not terrible. You can kind of lean it back like that to put the arm in place. It's still not great, but it's acceptable. It does provide for good across the chest, but you can see it's not that good that a butterfly joint wouldn't have worked, and a butterfly joint surely would have been more aesthetically pleasing. So when you raise his arms, you end up with all this kibble in here, and it's just not good. You get good range out of it, but it's ugly. So if you like that, fine. If you don't like that, that's fine. That's up to you. You do have a bicep swivel right here. It's minimal, but you do actually get most of your swivel out of the shoulder anyway, and you're going to need to use it to hide that ugly shoulder joint. So again, that's up to you. Single jointed elbow, which works well enough. It's just a little bit better than 90 degrees. So again, for a ninja, he's very poorly articulated. And it's a really big joint, which means we should have tons of range. And the way they sculpted it, and the way they engineered it, we have almost none. Very, very minimal. And for the wrists, little tiny ball hinge in the wrist. So you can fold it forward and back a little bit, but going side to side, almost none, because as you can see, the plastic is totally encompassing the ball hinge. So again, very poor design, very poor follow through on the idea of putting a ball hinge in the wrist. You do have little hinges or ball pegs for these chest pieces. I guess that's just to help them move away. It doesn't really serve a purpose, though. I feel like they saw the Play Arts Kai Halo 2 Anniversary Master Chief and said, hey, that's a good idea. We should do that. Why? Someone said. And they said, why not? So they did it. It doesn't really afford anything. Like, you kind of bump into them a little bit, but if they didn't move, it wouldn't make a difference. It barely moves them at all, so I don't understand that. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Unless it's supposed to open. Like I said, I never play Genji. Maybe those are supposed to move a little bit for, like, one of his moves. That seems weird, but maybe. I don't know. Okay, so moving on to the torso, we have... I'll just show you. It'll be better if I show you. So we have, just like Revoltech, a ball hinge, an offset ball hinge in his torso, which is not good because it's at almost, it's like 45 degrees offset, which means you're going to have a lot of trouble posing this guy. And it's true, you do, and it has minimal range. So he can lean forward a little bit. That's as much as he can lean forward. And then if he leans back, it just separates his upper body from the rest of his body. It looks like it's not meant to be connected. It's just weird the way it leans. It's not a good design, and it's not particularly stiff. He can lean side to side a little bit, but then it just creates giant gaps. This whole figure is just so poorly executed, poorly implemented designs. It's not good. And then when it rotates at an angle too. So that's not good. All right, so let's move on. His lower torso is floppy. It doesn't hold him up. You shouldn't be able to do this with a figure. I don't know if you guys could see that, but it's floppy. His lower torso, it's not like completely floppy, but it is pretty floppy. If I don't wedge it into his crotch piece here, it doesn't stay at all. The ball peg that holds the lower torso is very loose. You can see, it's just, if I squeeze it, it'll hold it. If I let go, it falls. Not good. It's a ball peg going up. It's your standard Figma ball peg, goes up into here. This is a floating piece in the middle. And then it pegs in up here. This piece just kind of overlaps. So, I mean, technically you have a little bit of range there, but he can't even bend over very far. And he's floppy. Floppy figures are never okay. These guys are soft plastic. They connect on down here, so they're hiding kind of like this hip cap, and then you just have your standard Figma ball peg. But you can't bring the legs out to the side really at all because those hit right there. So we have just about not even 45 degrees, so that's pretty limited. Going forward, forget about it. You can't bring the legs forward unless you flex these all the way out to the side, like that. You can flex them and then bring the foot out, and so his leg goes completely sideways, almost completely sideways. It's such a terrible implementation of just about everything they could have done. I don't understand it at all. Why they do that? Why'd they do that? Why did they ruin Genji? It's like, who doesn't like cyborg ninjas? Like, that's always a cool concept. It shouldn't be hard to articulate him, yet this guy has absolutely atrocious articulation. He does have a thigh swivel that works well, but you can't move the hips for crap. On to the knees. The knees look okay when they're perfectly straight, but when you bend them, they get really ugly. Like, really, really ugly. That joint is humongous. And then the way the knee pad sticks out, I could live with it, but it's just not, like, recess it somewhere. It's not recessed in the thigh or in the shin. So there's no reason. It's offset. It sticks out the back, so it can be recessed all they want up here, but they didn't do it. There's a big gap. And one of my legs is longer than the other by a little bit. I don't know if you can tell. This leg has a bigger gap between the knee and the thigh piece, and it is a little bit longer overall. So that's not good either. As far as the ankles go, the foot goes back pretty far. That's okay. Going forward, almost not at all. Almost no range. You do get a little tiny toe hinge, which is well done. I like that. But you can't bring the foot forward. And then you can angle it to the side just a little bit. Very minimal range. So overall, we have a Genji figure, which is a cyborg ninja, which can barely be posed. He'll look cool enough standing still, but can barely be posed. You can't make him look down. You can't make him look up, really. You can't turn his head all the way to the side. You can't lean his head all the way to the side. The shoulders are goofy looking. The elbows have minimal range. The wrists have minimal range. The torso has minimal range. The lower torso is too floppy and still has minimal range. The hips have almost no range at all. Thigh swivel's good. Knees have a lot of range but are ugly. Ankles have minimal range. So, yeah, I'm not very pleased with this, guys, and I think you probably won't be either unless you're just going to have it stand there. It's going to be very hard to pose this guy in any way that makes him look cool. And that's so disappointing because the character design, as you can see, is awesome. So, very bummed out that Figma has pulled their half the figures we make are crap type of mentality, and that's what this is. So, yeah, I'm going to say don't get it. I'm sure people are going to disagree, so if you want to tell me how wrong I am, go ahead and do it in the comment section below. But I'm not, so that's up to you. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I have videos out almost every day, hopefully again soon. And we do talk about all kinds of things, action figures, movies, TV shows, video games, all kinds of fun stuff. We stream 3 times a week, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Tuesday through Thursday. We're making action figures live. And then we play video games afterwards. So come back for all that good stuff. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. And in the meantime, keep collecting.